Okay, let's continue the paper from the second video from question number 22, which is the true about the statement given below in relation to the linear equation. Linear equation, it is generally linear equation we will present, linear equation will be presented as y equal a plus bx. This is a linear equation, right? Now, what is the statement true relating to a linear equation? Let's see, right? This is the linear equation y equal a plus bx. Sometimes this linear equation can be a minus bx also, because there may be an inverse relationship or positive relationship in between y and x. Therefore, a plus bx can be happen or a minus bx also can be happen, right? Statement 1, intercept should always get a positive integer. Statement 2, slope and intercept together from the equation, right? In a linear equation, intercept should always get a positive. No, not always get positive. Intercept can be minus in some situation, that is a can be a minus value in the y equal a plus bx formula. Therefore, it is not a correct statement. Second statement, slope and intercept together form the equation. Yes, here the slope b and the intercept a will create the formula together. Therefore, statement 2 is the correct statement relating to the linear equation, right? Statement 2. Question number 23. Especially I need to say something here. This question is incorrect question. Therefore, you cannot solve these questions to have the answer 500,000, because this question is incorrect question. Keep in your mind. Don't waste time to solve this question, because you will have another answer, not the 500,000. Therefore, I will skip that questions without solving. Let's take question number 24. What is the value of x if following functions are plotted in a graph, right? What is the value of x if the following functions plotted in a graph? That is, if you plot y equal x plus s and y equal x power 2 minus 4x, what would be the value of x and y? Value of the x, they are asking what is the value of x. Yes, what is the value of x if you plot these two graphs in the graph sheet, right? Now, to find out the value of x, the better way is to y equal x plus x as well as y equal x squared minus 4x. You can use the two equations as in a similar equation like this, because both these two equations talk about the value of y. Therefore, you can say y equal y. Therefore, you can say x plus 6 should be equal this, that is x squared, right? X squared minus 4x, x plus 6 equal x squared, right? This is squared squared minus 4x, right? Since we have mentioned two equation depend on using the y equal y, therefore x plus 6 equal x squared minus 4x. Therefore, you can further solve this. You can take this side into here, then you can say, you can take this into next side, then you have x plus 6 x plus 6, this plus x squared when it's come to here it become minus, then plus minus 4x when become to this side it's become plus, and you can say it is equal 0. Now solve the x, you can solve this x and this 4x can be taken as 5x plus 6 minus s squared, right. Equal 0, right. Now this can be equal to 0. Now solve this quadratic equation. This is a quadratic equation. Once you solve this quadratic equation, you can have the answer, right. The answer will be minus 106. I will explain that calculation part on the whiteboard. That final quadratic equation we can rewrite like this: minus s squared plus 5x plus 6, right. That's the way. I will explain it again because examiner gives you y equal s plus 6, other y equal s squared minus 4x. Therefore, you can say y equal y, that is x plus 6 equal s squared minus 4x, right. Keeping this side as it is, you can take into this side, or keeping this side as it is, you can take into this side. Better to have x squared in plus, therefore let's take this into this side. Or the same equation you have to change the previous equation I have explained, 5x, right, plus 6 minus squared equals 0. Change the equation, then minus 5x minus 6 plus s squared will be 0 once you change the equations to take this into plus. Or you can have the same answer like this: 0 equal s squared minus 4x minus x minus 6, then 0 equal s squared minus 5x minus 6. Now you need to solve this quadratic equation like this: 0 equal s squared, you know, x squared into 6. Once you multiply these two squared by 6, answer will be 6 squared, that is minus, since here minus. Now you need to factorize this to have this answer. Therefore, you can take plus 1x minus 6x minus 6. How? 6x minus, this is minus 6x, this is plus x. Therefore, you can reach this value minus 5x, as well as 1 into 6 minus 6. Now solve this. You can take x out, then x plus 1, or you can take minus 6 out, then x, this should be plus because both are minus sign, then 1. Therefore, you can say x plus 1 equals 0 or x minus 6 equals 0, right. Then you can say x equal minus 1, right, or x equal plus 6. Therefore, answer will be x equal minus 1 or x equal plus 6. Answer A, right. Let's move into question number 25. Which is which is the correct value of the y when the following equations are solved. When you solve these two equations, what would be the value of y? Again, you know, this is a quadratic equation. To solve this quadratic equation, right? Let's take these two quadratic equations to solve. You know, number 1, x plus 5y equal minus 13. The other equation, 2x minus y equal 7. Now you need to find out the value of y. They ask the value of y here. They ask a value of the y. Therefore, to solve the value of y, you need to eliminate x here. To eliminate x here, this equation need to be multiplied by 2. This equation need to be multiplied by 2, right? Then let's multiply this equation by 2. Then we can write down the formula 2x plus 10y equal minus 26. Now we have formula number 2 and formula number 3, right? Then once you eliminate this by the second formula by the third formula, you can eliminate 2x, then 2x minus 2x, it becomes 0, you know, it becomes 0, right? Then 10y minus y, 10y it is plus, right? 10y it is plus, you can see here 10y minus y, right, equal minus 26 minus 7. Then you can say that, right, here minus become plus, therefore 11y equal minus 26 plus 26 minus 7 minus, therefore minus 33, right, minus 33. Therefore you can say y equal minus 3, right? Let's see the answer. Yes, y equal minus 3, answer is C. Answer is C, y equal minus 3, right? Let's move into the question number 26. An employee is hired with an initial salary of 60,000, right? Highlight this, per month, initial salary 60,000 with salary increment to be added at beginning of each year. The salary increment, this is very important point, salary increase will be added beginning of each year. This wording beginning is very important, beginning of each year. Then very first day onward he appointed, he will receive the salary increment. Why? Each year beginning he has salary increment, right? After 4 years, that means after 4 years means during 4 years time, each year beginning he will receive increment, right? After 4 years, that means every year within these 4 years he will receive salary increment, because each year beginning he will receive salary increment. At the first day of employment he will receive salary increment. After 4 years his monthly salary 80,000. After 4 years his monthly salary 80,000. That's correct, because he joined at 60,000. Then at the join day, first day he received salary increment. Then second day he received salary increment, second year. Third year he received salary increment. Fourth year also he received salary increment. Now 4 times he received salary increment. Now from 60 to 80,000, salary was increased by 20,000. That 20,000 salary increment received for 4 years. Therefore you can say annual salary increment is 5,000. See here, after 4 years salary is 80,000 minus original salary is 60,000. Therefore 4 year salary increase is 20,000. Therefore average of salary increase, sorry, the average of salary increase will be 20,000 divided by 4 times. Why? 4 years he is spent. Therefore, salary increase per annum is 5,000. This is a salary increase per annum, right? Salary increase per annum 5,000. What is the equation that relate to annual salary of that above employee, where salary is denoted by S and the time by T, right? Time by T. Now, you have to calculate, you have to develop a formula to find out the total salary he received, right? Total salary he received per annum, sorry, for the 4 years period. You have to develop a formula. You know, annually he received 5,000 salary increase per month, right? This is the 5,000 salary increase per month. Therefore, you can say annual salary increase equal 5,000 into 12, right? That is equal 60,000. Per each annum, he will receive additional 60,000 rupees. Now, he spent 4 years. Therefore, 60,000 into 4 years, that is 60,000 T is the total salary increase over the 4 years. Because monthly salary increase is 5,000, because he originally agreed to 60,000, but after 4 years monthly salary 80,000. Therefore, monthly salary increased by 20,000 over 4 years. Therefore, during the 4 years monthly salary is 20,000 increase. 1 is divided by 4, monthly salary increase 5,000 per annum. Then per annum he earned 60,000 salary increase over 4 years. Therefore, you need to multiply it by T. Therefore, this is the salary increase, 60,000 into T. In addition to that, he will receive basic salary 60,000. Therefore, monthly salary will be 60,000 into 12, that is 720,000. Therefore, formula total salary increase, total salary equal 720,000 into 60,000 T. Answer is D. Moving into question number 27. Again same type of question. A hotel offers a 25% discount for standard room charges per night if a guest stay more than 2 nights. If a guest stay more than 2 nights, he will receive 25% discount. Then standard room charge is 20,000. This is the standard room charges. The discount 25% if guests stay more than 2 nights. Right. Now, this is the monthly, sorry, 1 day night, 1 night fee. Right. If he stay 2 nights, it will be 40,000. Right. However, he will receive 25,000 discount. Right. He will receive 25,000 discount. Then 25,000 discount per month. How much? Per day, sorry, per night 25,000 discount is 20,000 into 25%. Therefore, his discount will be, right, let us calculate the discount. Discount will be 20,000 into 25%, that is equal 5,000, right. If he can receive 5,000 discount per night, if he stay more than 2 days, right, total discount will be 10,000. Therefore, if he stayed at 2 nights, the price will be not 40,000, it will be 15,000 into, right, 15,000 into 2. Therefore, cost for 2 nights will be 30,000, right, cost will be 30,000. Then per day average, this is, we are talking about day 2, right, day 2. Day 2 total cost will be 30,000. Therefore, per day cost will be 15,000 once it divided by 2. Therefore, if customer stay 2 days or more, average cost per day will be 15,000. Got it? Average cost will be 15,000. Right. Now, let us see the question. Which of the following equation will result the total room charges when a guest stay more than 2 days, where number of night is x and total charges is tc? Right. Now, as I explained, if the person stay only 1 night, it is 20,000, but stay more than 1 night, 25% discount, therefore cost will be 15,000. Assume he stayed at 2 days, the total cost will be 30,000, right, total cost will be 30,000 because the average, his cost per day reduced by 25%, right. Then average cost per day will be 15,000, since it is taken for 2 days, 30,000. Now, we have to set a formula to develop the total cost for a specific number of days, assume that is more than 2 days. Now, the answer is total cost equal 10,000 plus 15,000 x. Here x is number of nights. Per night average 15,000, right, per night average 15,000. Now, 15,000 into number of days is the total cost, but why that examiner introduced additional 10,000? That is the point you need to understand, right. Why examiner included additional 10,000? Now, let us take an example, right. Assume a person who stayed 3 days, right, person who stayed 3 days. If he stayed 3 days, what would be the total cost? The total cost will be with the 25% discount, right. With the 25% discount, without discount it should be 20,000 into 3, right, 20,000 into 3, that is 60,000 without the discount, but he received 25% discount, right, that would be 45,000. In such a case, 15,000 into 3 will be the 45,000. However, we have additional 10,000. That is the point you need to think. Now, let us read the question again. Take 1 minute and read the question, then you can understand why examiner introduced additional 10,000 also. Now, I will tell you. Look here, if a guest stays more than 2 nights, that means if guest stay only 2 days, you cannot have this discount, you have to pay actually 20,000 and your cost will be 40,000. Is that clear? Because he has to stay more than 2 nights. Got it? Therefore, day 3 you do not have this discount. Therefore, your discount will be effective after day 2, that is from day 3. Let us calculate cost for day 3. Now, in the first day you have to pay 20,000, second day you have to pay 20,000, but when it's come to day 3 you have the discount. Therefore, discount will be effective from the day 3 onward, the night 3 onward. If night 3 onward, if it is effective, what would be the total cost? Now think about that. What would be the total cost? First day 20,000, second day 20,000, third day 15,000. Then what is the total value? 55,000. Let's calculate. If you stay 3 days, right? If customer takes 3 days stay, day 1, right? Day 1 he has to pay 20,000 rupees. Then day 2 he has to pay 20,000. But day 3 onwards he has the discount, therefore he will pay 15,000. Now altogether how much? Altogether 55,000, right? 55,000. Now see this formula. 3 into 3 days, we are assuming 3 days, right? Here we are assuming he will stay 3 days. X is 3 days. 3 into 15,000, how much? 45,000. Then to take the total answer you need to add 10,000. Now it's become 55,000 because here total is 55,000, right? This total is 55,000. Now to take 55,000 you need to use this formula. You can understand, right? 3 into 15, 45,000 plus 10,000. Now you need to understand. Now the formula is correct, you know, formula is correct, but why this 10,000 provided here? Why this 10,000 is provided? That's the problem, right? If you stay more than 2 days, you have 25% discount, right? I will show you this calculation again. First day they will take 20,000, second day they will take 20,000, but third day onwards they will take 75% of the room price, that is 15,000. Then total will be for 3 days 55,000. If you use this formula D, you can have that answer. Now how they have arrived this 10,000, that is the question, right? The reason is, see here, from day 3 onward you will pay 15,000. Therefore, day 3 onwards you will pay 15,000, right? But first day and second day you will pay here, look here. First day you have to pay additional 5,000. Second day you have to pay additional 5,000. Therefore, whatever the days you spend more than 2, you have to pay additional 10,000. This additional 10,000 is this. Thereafter, any day your common cost is 15,000. Therefore, formula will be 10,000. 10,000 is this additional 2 5,000s, right? Here 10,000 plus, then thereafter from the third day onward 15,000. Therefore, 15,000 into number of days. That's how they have selected. Therefore, in such a case you have to find out what is the additional cost before the discount you pay. That would be the intercept in the formula. Then annual average day cost will be the slope. This is the number of days. Based on that you can calculate total cost. Okay. Now let's take question 28. Now question 28 onwards we are moving into the probability questions, right? These are probability questions. Easily you can learn this part referring to the probability topics given in the study text. Okay, let's take the questions now from 28 onwards. It was revealed that the mean value of weights of 200 randomly selected items of a certain product was 400 grams, right? What is true about the sum of deviations of each weight from arithmetic mean of the above? What is the true about the sum of deviations? Sum of deviations. Sum of deviation answer is 0. I will tell why. using the whiteboard. When you have a set of data, you can plot those data on a scatter diagram, right? Assume we have 5 data set, right? Now you can develop the trend line for this 5 data set, then trend line like trend line will move like this. This will be the trend line, right? This trend line always will give you the estimated x, estimated y. Any y you will calculate it on this trend line will be the estimated y. This is the actual y, right? These are the actual y values. Any value on the line, the y value represent estimated y, that is the mean y. Now deviation between estimated y and actual y is the variance. This is the variance, right? Now this variance take plus variance because actual y greater than estimated y on the line. This also plus variance, this also plus variance, this is a minus variance and this is a minus variance. You know, according to the probability theory, the sum of these variances become 0. That's why when you calculate variance and the standard deviation, you will take the square root of this variance. Why you are taking square root of this variance? Once you take the square root of variance, you can eliminate this minus sign. This will remain as it is, but this minus sign become plus when you get the not square root, power 2, right? Sorry. When you get in the variance calculation, you are getting power 2 of the difference, x minus x bar or y minus y bar, right? Now once you get the power 2 of this variance, this minus sign will be eliminated. Otherwise, individually, without the power 2 of the difference gives you answer 0. That's why the correct answer is A, that sum of deviation equal 0. Now question 29. Which combination consists of only central tendency measures? Central tendency will measure using 3 computation, that is mean, mode and median, right? Mean means the average value, mode is the value, the number represented many times within the series or the distribution, median in the middle value of the data distribution once you arrange it into the ascending or descending order. Therefore, central tendency, right? This central tendency will be measured using mean, mode and median, right? Question number 30. What is the median daily production in relation to a production of 1 week? You have been given here 7 numbers, right? They are asking what is the median, right? You need to calculate the median. To calculate the median, what you need to do? You need to arrange these numbers into ascending or descending order, right? Let's arrange this information into ascending order. You know the lowest number is 70, only 117, only 117 you have. Thereafter you have 18, you have 18 in 2 times, thereafter 2 times 18, then you have 19 again in 2 times. After the 19 you have 20 and 21, 20 and 21. Now median is the middle value. Here you have 7 numbers, middle value is 19. Therefore median will be 19, right? The middle value is the median, right, that is 19. You can see here I have highlighted. But however, to find out the median, you need to arrange the data set, right, the data set into ascending or descending order. Otherwise, don't find the middle value using the numbers given as it is wrong. You have to send it, rearrange it into the ascending or descending order, right. Moving into the question number 31. Which of the following circumstances would justify the mean value as a representative measure of a sample, right? Which of the following circumstances would justify the mean value? They are talking about the mean as a representative measure of a sample. Mean will represent with high level of accurate when the distribution is normally distributed. That is why mean value as a representative value, right. When you calculate the mean of a sample, it will represent the distribution when the data are normally distributed, right. When data normally distributed, their sample mean value represent the population, right. Therefore, to take mean as a representative measure, that data should be normally distributed. The answer would be normal distribution. Moving into question number 32. Which of the following statement talks about probability? What is actually probability? Probability is the ability to occur it, right? Ability to occur it. The probability can be renamed with another name, that is chance. Chance will be measured in mathematically with the probability, right. Therefore, probability can be renamed with the wording of chance, right. The total cost of the project has been estimated to be 50 million. This is an estimation, not a chance. Therefore, this is not the probability, right. Estimation is not the probability. Then let's take C. Termination cost of the project, that end cost of the project would depend on the compliance requirement. When it's depend, that dependency not talks about the probability, that is the contingency. Depend means contingency. When one event depend on another event, that's talk about the contingency, right. Now, estimate not talk about the probability. Then D, 10% of human resource required for the project should comprise of engineers. 10% of human resource out of total, that percentage, right, this is not the probability, this is talk about the percentage. Probability can be presented as a percentage. Here, human resource out of the total resource as 10% is the percentage. This is not the probability. Therefore, probability would be the chance. Therefore, answer is B. There is a great chance. Look at the word. There is a great chance that the project will be successful. It's talk about the probability, the occurrence, the chance of occurrence, ability to occurrence, that is the probability. You need to understand this properly, right? Probability is not the estimated, that when you estimate future, it is not the probability. When you say something will happen depend on another activity, it is talk about the contingency. When you say proportionate out of the total, that is not the probability. The probability of the chance of occurring. Probability is the chance of occurring. Keep your mind. Probability is generally defined as the chance of occurring. Right. Now we will move into the question number 33. What is the coefficient of variation? The coefficient of variation. It's a measure. How you can calculate coefficient of variation? Coefficient of variation will calculate by standard deviation, right? Standard deviation divided by mean, right? Standard deviation divide by mean, then you have coefficient of variation. Here they have mentioned, right, standard deviation as 5 and mean as 14. Mean 14, standard deviation 5. Therefore, 5 divided by 14. Answer is 0.3571. As a percentage, you have to multiply it by 100, then 35.71. That's why answer given as 35.7, right? Here, standard deviation is 5. You will divide standard deviation by 14, then your answer will be 0.357. Therefore, you will give your answer as a percentage 35.7%. That's why your answer is 35.7. Therefore, keep your mind, coefficient of variation will be calculated by dividing standard deviation by its mean, right? Moving into 34. For what data a parameter measure is computed? From what data a parameter measure is computed? What is parameter measure, right? To have a proper understanding, right? To have proper understanding, it is better to refer. I will show you the topics you have to refer. That is better without referring only to the questions, right? This is your study text. Let's take the topics given. The topic 7, 8, 9, 10, especially 9 and 10 talks about the probability distributions, right? However, topic 7 and 8 talks about the principle of statistics, right? Let's take page number 127. To answer this type of question, you better to refer chapter. What is this chapter number? Chapter 7. Yes, you need to refer from chapter 7 onwards. All the descriptive statistic, table, charts, frequency distribution, histograms, ogivs, average, mean, mode, medium, everything here explains, right? Just read these topics, then you can have, right? You can have proper idea about the probability theories, because everything given is here. Therefore, read chapter 7 and 8 in your study text, right? Now, the parameter measures will be based on population data. Therefore, parameter measures will be based on population data, right? Therefore, answer is population data. You can learn these things easily using chapter 7 and 8. I urge you to use chapter 7 and 8 to understand this properly. Right, now the answer for question 34 is population data. As I told you, please read at least 2 times. You have the enough time now, right? Please chapter 17 and 18 as much as possible to understand basic theories of the probability and statistics, right? That is very important to learn. Okay, question 35. What would be the nature of distribution if the mean, median and mode of a data set are 30, 35 and 40, right? When the mean, mode, median. Now, what is the mean value? Mean value is 30, but middle value, that is median, right? Middle value is the median, and most number of time, that is the mode, right, is 40. Both these median and mode, right, you can see that both this median and mode higher than the mean value, that is, it is negatively skewed, right. If this 35 and 40, that is mean and mode, median and mode less than mean, that is positively skewed, right. If mean, median and mode in the same level, that is a normal distribution. I think you can understand this, right. I will explain using the whiteboard also. You know, normally distributed data will be presented like this in the normal distribution graph. In such a case, the mean value is the middle value, median also here, right, median also here. Other two data distributions are positively skewed and negatively, right. Here mean is here, then this is the mean value, right. Here this is the mean value. When it is negatively skewed, the mode and median always greater than this, right. In other case, it is less than mean. Now our question, let's take the question 35 again. You can see that the median value 35 and mode is 40, both always more than mean value of 30. Therefore, it is negatively skewed, right. In a normal distribution, it is not negatively or positively skewed, it is normally distributed. Question 36. The probability of non-occurrence of an event lies between probability of occurrence or probability of non-occurrence, or simply probability always between 0 and 1. Keep in your mind, probability of occurrence or non-occurrence always in between 0 and 1, or 0% to 100%. As a percentage, 0% to 100%, as a number in between 1 and 0, or 0 and 1. Then 37. What is the value of the area under normal curve of either side? You know, normally distributed means it is not negatively or positively skewed. It is normally distributed equally into the both side, right. It is equally into the both side. Therefore, one side is 50% or 0.5, right. It is one side 50% or 0.5. Therefore, normal distributed data, what is the value of the area under normal curve of either one side, right hand side or left hand side? It is 50% or 0.5, right, 50% or 0.5. That is question number 37. Now we are moving into question number 38. What parameters in a normal distribution controls the fitness of the curve? You know, in the normally distributed data, for all the calculation, the parameters are mean and standard deviation. Therefore, answer is mean and standard deviation. The normal distributed data fit by mean and standard deviation. You know, you can remember all the calculation in the normal distribution also we are using mean and standard deviation. Moving to question number 39. How a variable is called if its value is determined by the outcome of a random experiment? When you select a variable through a random experiment, it's called a random variable, right. when you identified a variable through a random experiment, that's called a random variable, right? Then what is represented by this sign? This is actually the confidence level, right? This is the sign inferential statistics. This sign will be used to present the confidence level. In other words, probability of acceptance the region, right? Answer D. That is for question 40. Now question 41. Again, to learn these the areas now we are under discussion, I will take the study text to show you the topics you need to read, because these are new areas for you with this new syllabus. You need to read the probability, that chapter 8 and chapter 9 totally, to have the idea about these three. Therefore, I urge you to revisit chapter 7 to chapter 9 in detail. Revisit chapter 7 and 8, 9 and 10 in detail to understand how to answer the probability statistics related questions. Let's moving into the paper again. Question number 41. What is likely to occur when a null hypothesis is rejected in hypothesis testing, right? In hypothesis testing, we have two hypotheses, right? In hypothesis testing, we have two hypotheses. What are the two hypotheses? Null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Clear? Generally, we set null hypothesis, thereafter we will set alternative hypothesis. Basically we set null hypothesis, that is zero hypothesis. Thereafter we will set another alternative hypothesis, that's called alternative hypothesis. If null hypothesis we set at the hypothesis testing, what is a hypothesis testing? These are highly technical wordings. I will give you a simple example. Say, now listen to me. We want to make a research. Why we make a research? To find something. Generally we know we will do research to find new scientific knowledge or new scientific thing. Therefore, research will do for find something. However, when the beginning of the research, we will believe this can be like this. For an example, say we are going to collect data. I will give a more familiar example now. Now see, what I have experienced I will share with you. Now coronavirus started initially within China during the town of Wuhan. Thereafter it was spread all over the country, all over the world. If you refer the statistics data about the people who affected and died, majority was from the area in the world. Now, when you take the area, the entire world, you can see majority of the countries who severely affected are the countries who are now in the winter season. The countries those are getting enough sunlight, the temperature more than 25, 26, 27 degrees, they are not severely affected. Now we need to check that whether the temperature more than 25 degrees, whether corona are not performing well, we will create a assumption like this. Now we want to check this, right? We will create an assumption initially. Okay, coronavirus not properly active where area have more than 25% degrees their temperature. That will be our null hypothesis. Then we have to create an alternative hypothesis, that is corona will be activate more in those area, that is the vice versa, right. After the research, based on the finding, you can see whether your null hypothesis is correct or alternative hypothesis is correct. If your null hypothesis is correct, you will reject your alternative hypothesis. If your null hypothesis is incorrect, you will accept your alternative hypothesis, right. Initially you will set your null hypothesis, thereafter you will set your alternative hypothesis. If your research finding reject, right, the null hypothesis, the basic hypothesis you made, it's called type 1 error. If your alternative hypothesis is rejected, that's called type 2 error, right. That's how. To have proper understanding, go to your lessons and read more. Let's take question 42. Which of the following decide the strength of the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable? I will bring you, right, I will bring you to the lesson we have discussed in our seminar series. Can you remember we discussed a lesson called correlation, regression analysis, simple regression analysis, right. Under the simple regression analysis, we have discussed how a dependent variable react according to a single independent variable. When a dependent variable react, when we learn the reaction of dependent variable against a single independent variable, that's called simple early regression, right, simple regression analysis. But when you are going to understand the behavior of a dependent variable for many independent variable, that's called multiple regression analysis. Now I will bring you to the whiteboard. In the simple regression analysis, formula has been given as a plus bx. We have discussed all the matters, right. This line called trend line, can you remember? We have created the trend line also. In the trend line, using two set of data x and y, we wanted to calculate a, value a and value b. I think you can remember. Thereafter, we have developed this formula, right. Then from this formula, the simple regression formula or the trend line, we calculated many measures. One is correlation coefficient. The correlation coefficient is R, right. Correlation coefficient is R. As well as we have calculated R squared, that coefficient of determination, right. What are these two measures? Can you remember? The correlation coefficient shows how strong the direction where it is going, the two variables, and the strongness, how strong the model, right. Now, if correlation coefficient take plus answer, say correlation coefficient R equal 0.65. If it is a plus answer, that means both x and y moves together, positive relationship. If correlation coefficient gets minus answer, that means those are moving inversely. When x increase, y decrease. Therefore, correlation coefficient tells us the direction of the two variable, right, and the strength of the two variables. strength of the two variables. Therefore, correlation coefficient gives us the signal, the direction of two variable and the strength of the two variable. When the correlation coefficient reach to 1, it is more strong. When it is reached to 0, it is less strong, right? Therefore, when this answer reach into 1, when it more close to 1, it is more strong. When it is close to 0, it is less strong. When it is plus, positive relationship between the two variables. When it is minus, negative relationship between the two variables. That is the meaning of correlation coefficient. Then the second measure was coefficient of determination, right? What is coefficient of determination? Square root of the correlation coefficient. The power of the correlation, power of 2 of the correlation coefficient is the coefficient of determination, right? What is this coefficient of determination? Coefficient of determination will tells you, now the formula is y equal a plus bx. That means you are going to calculate y using the x. This is independent variable, right? This is dependent variable. Now we are going to determine dependent variable using independent variable. You are trying to tell, coefficient of determination tells you by x how much y represent, right? By x how much y represent. Therefore, coefficient of determination will tells you by this model how much y you can, how strong y you can interpret, right? For an example, let's take y as sales and x as the advertisement expenses. Now you can develop a formula, then introducing advertisement expenses into x, you can predict y. Coefficient of determination tells you by advertisement expenses, through this advertisement expenses, up to what extent, up to how much you can interpret y, you can determine y. That's called coefficient of determination. Therefore, in simple regression analysis, major two measures are correlation coefficient and coefficient of determination. Now let's take the question. Which of the followings decide the strength? Why I have stuck there, I will tell you the question, which of the followings. There is a mistake. Generally we are not take this word followings, right? There is no word called followings, it is just following, right? That's why I was stuck there. Which of the following, even it is one or more than that, we will tell just following, right? Which of the following decide the strength of the relationship, between independent variable and dependent variable, that is the strength of the x and y, that is by correlation coefficient and coefficient of determination, right? Therefore, answer is 1 and 2. Sometimes you may have additional questions, right? Which of the following decide the what we call the direction of the two variables, independent and dependent variable? Which of the following describe the direction of the two variable? Then you can say correlation coefficient, right? Likewise, different multiple choice question can be created based on the definitions of correlation coefficient and coefficient of determination. These things we have in detail, detailed discussion in our seminar series. Therefore, please take those videos and follow. We have 6 videos there. Now moving into question number 43. What is meant by R2, actually R2, this is coefficient of determination. This R2 should be presented not like this, R squared, right, that is R squared, that means R, that 2 like this, right, do not misunderstand that, it should be presented like this, right. What is mean by R squared? When the its value 0.3, now coefficient of determination 0.3, right. The coefficient of determination, what I have told you, what is coefficient of determination? R squared. R squared means by how much the dependent variable explained by the independent variable. By how much? Can we take the right screen? Right. Now see, R squared, I have take Y as sales and X as advertisement expenses, right. Now that model Y equal A plus BX, X represent advertisement, Y represent sales. That means by using advertisement expenses you can forecast Y, right. Now I squared say, once you use advertisement expense to predict sales, what is the accuracy of that? People can ask, what is the accuracy of that model? Clear? Now I squared R power 2, right, R power 2 tell you it is only 30% according to this question. That is, sales will be explained on this model only 30%. That means another 70% there are many variables to consider. That is why we have another topic called multiple regression analysis. That is, we have many independent variables, not only the advertisement like here, right. Therefore, R power 2 explain how much this model represent Y, how much this model represent Y. Now let us take the question again. What is meant by I squared? That is, I squared is how much the dependent variable explained by the model. Therefore, answer is 30% of the total variation is explained by the regression model, right. Okay, let us take question number 44 now. What is the correlation coefficient between market price of the share and market price of the same thing, right? What is the correlation coefficient between market price of shares and market price of shares as I indicated in the market beta? Now, here the market price of shares as same here also market price of shares. Therefore, the correlation coefficient should be 100%. Why? Both factors are same. Therefore, correlation coefficient 100% or the 1, 100% or 1. Therefore, this is the answer, that is 1, right. Answer is 1. Then let us move into the question number 45. I will give you 1 minute, read it and see whether you can understand what the question. What can be concluded if all the scatter points of independent variable and dependent variable in a scatter diagram lie on a straight line, right? If I take the study text relating to this area, I will show you why it is important to read these topics. Right, look here. This is your page number. I will tell you the page number for you is 251, right? Use 251. When the data set may have a positive relationship or negative relationships. If it is a positive relationship, both when y increase, x will increase, or when x increase, y will increase. Therefore, data going from this 0.2 upward right hand side, right. This is a positive relationship of data. This is a negative relationship of data. When all is scattered lie on the trend line like this or like this, here positive relationship, here negative relationship, but in the both case you can see scatter plotted, all the scattered on the trend line you developed, right. All is scattered line lies on trend line. That means that situation called, see the word perfect correlation, that is 100% correlation, or correlation coefficient will be presented as 1. When all the points plotted on the trend line developed, that is perfect correlation, that is actual data also on the line, right. This is called perfect correlation. But naturally data will not line on the line, it is around the line, right. I will show you. Now here this is a positive relationship, data not on the line, around the line. Here negative relationship, dot that points not on the line, around the line. Negative relationship, positive relationship, but not on the line, that's called partial correlation, right. You can see data set going parallelly, right, positive relationship and negative relationship, but not on the line, therefore is a partial correlation. When it's come to this type of situation, there is no shape, you can't say there is a positive relationship, no the shape of positive relationship, as well as you can't say there is a negative relationship. Why? Because data not flow with a negative relationship, therefore that situation called no correlation, right. Now you can see your MCQ question entirely developed using the study text. I urge you again, read the study text as much as possible, do the examples given in the study text as much as possible, read more and more about the theoretical areas explained in the study text. That's the only way, not is the only way, but that is the most suitable way to pass the exam. Read in the study text, because your papers will be developed only using the study text. They are not going to test outside the study text. The paper set, paper marking, everything will be aligned with the study text. Therefore, you must read the study text as much as possible. This is the best period to read your study text, because you are at your home, you have free time. Read the study text, don't cram anything, just read these books. Reading books will develop your mindset, you will become an intelligent person once you reading. Therefore, just read these things, then you can understand more. Moving the question again here, which can be concluded if all the scatter points of independent variable and dependent variable lie on a straight line, that is called perfect relationship, as we discussed using the study text. Now you can imagine, sometimes partial relationship can be tested, right. Sometimes no relationship can be tested, sometimes negative relationship can be tested, sometimes positive relationship can be tested, or sometimes partial negative relationship, partial positive relationship, or perfect positive relationship, perfect negative relationship can be tested. They will give you just a graph as a picture as part of the question and ask what type of relationship is there. Ready for that. You can have few questions, I will tell you. You will be given perfect positive relationship graph and ask what is it. you will be given perfect negative relationship graph and ask what is this relationship. Then you will be given a graph which partial negative relationship and ask what is this relationship, or you will be given partial positive relationship graph and ask what is this relationship, or you will be given no relationship graph and ask what is this relationship. Therefore, don't try to cram these pictures also, right? Just understand what is the relationship, what is the correlation. Correlation means how two sets of data behaving, how two sets of data behaving. When one set of data changing, how other set of data will change, right? When one set of data increase by 10%, if other set of data also increase by 10%, it is a perfect relationship, perfect positive relationship. If one set of data increase by 10%, other set of data increase only by less than 10%, it is partial relationship. If it is going vice versa, that is, it is a negative relationship. If there is no impact, the change of one set of data on the other, that is no relationship. Likewise, you need to understand what is this correlation. Just read this study text as much as possible. Then let's move question number 46. Time series data analysis has found that there were shortages of certain consumer goods before presenting the annual government budgets. Which of the following best explain the above shortage? When you making budgets, you understood some consumer goods not in the stocks. That is, some consumer goods shortages. Which of the following best explain the above shortages? So, in a retail business, they always have inventory of consumer goods, otherwise they can't sell it. But due to some reasons, some inventory items may become deficit, shortage, not over the entire period, in some periods. For an example, in the festival season, it is difficult to sometimes find out some item from that area, because due to the high demand, all item will be sold. Therefore, items not become deficit or shortage all over the period. Due to some factors in some period within the year, it will become shortages. That is impact of seasonal variations. Due to the season, in some seasons item become deficit, in some season items become surplus. It is a seasonal variation, right? Then question 47. What is meant by time series data? What is time series data? They ask in the meaning. Let's take all the answers. A set of observation recorded over series of time. B. A set of observation recorded at a regular time interval. A set of observation recorded over given period of time. A set of observation recorded over period greater than 5 years. Keep your mind, time series data will be extracted depending on regular time intervals. This is very important. Time series data will be extracted using regular time intervals, right? For an example, when you collect data for 10 years, right, you have to observe 10 years. If you observe March of the first year, again you have to observe the March of the second year, March of the third year, March of the fourth year, up to March of the 10th year. Why? To analyze the data behavior, you need to have similar data in each year. Therefore, you have to apply regular time intervals. Otherwise, you can't identify the seasonal impact, right? You cannot identify seasonal impact if you are not consider the regular intervals. Therefore, very important to keep your mind that time series data always focus to observe data based on regular time intervals. If you observe data in the first year, in March, you never observe data in the second year in May or June. You have to select the March again. In third year, you have to select the March again. That's called regular intervals, right? Now let's take question number 48. Before moving into this question number 48, I would like to explain what are the components of a time series, right? We are talking about time series data. Time series data can be identified under 4 components. What are these 4 components? I think you can remember. It is better to have a recap of the discussion we had on seminar series, right? Time series data will depend on, we simply say, cyclical, number 1 trend, then cyclical variations, seasonal variations and irregular variations. Therefore, time series data depend on 4 components. Trend data. Trend data means data changes occurred over long period of time, right? The data changes occurred over 10 years. Data changes occurred over 5 years. Likewise, data changes occurred annually is the trend, right? Data changes occurred annually is the trend. Then let's see what is cyclical. When you select 10 years, the data changes over 10 years is the trend. If once you consider the 10-year data, you can see every 2 years time you have again a specific change, right? You have again a specific change. That's called cyclical. As a cycle, you receive a specific change. For an example, in Sri Lanka, people generally tells in 1972 we had civil conflicts within the country. 1972 again, 1988 we have civil conflicts within the country. Again 2009 we have civil conflicts within the country. Again we will expect it will be on 2029. That means every 20 years time we have a same incident, similar incident, right? This type of incident on a regular period called cyclical variations. The changes over the entire 100 years or 20 years or 10 years or 50 years is the trend. Within this selected 100 or 10 or 50 years, the changes after regular time period is a cyclical variances, right? Then seasonal. Seasonal means within the 1 year, right, the same thing will be happen again and again and again in a regular interval. That is a seasonal variation, right? Then finally irregular variation. Sometimes during the time period you considered it occurred only one time, right? Just like the tsunami effect over last 50 years, it was occurred only one time, right? Those are called irregular activities, irregular variations, right? Now here you have a question relating to that. What kind of trend is represented? Recessions and booms experienced by business organization when operations are carried out. In economy also we have the same. In 2008-9 we have economic recessions. In 1998-2000 we have economic recessions. Now again we are in 2019-2020 we have economic recession. Why? Due to the coronavirus. 2008-9 we had economic recession. Why? We had financial market meltdown. 1998-1999 also we had in Asia economic recession, right? These are occurred in a regular period, in a long period of time, but in a regularly it was happened 10 years time. As I told you previously that civil conflicts within our country occurred every 20 years time. This time of changes, this type of changes, this type of changes occurred regularly, however, with a long time of period, 20 years, 10 years, likewise, called the cyclical trend. Cyclical trend means you have a up, you have a down of that data. You have a up and you have a down of that data during a long period of time, but it will occur as a cycle, right? This cyclical trend, therefore economic recession and economic boom. Economic recession is the down and boom is the up, right? That is a cyclical trend. I have explained these matters in detail in my exam focus seminar series. Please watch those videos again, right? I will urge you to watch those videos. Now let's move into the question number 49. What is the most commonly used best method of measuring trend? Right. To measure the trend, we have many methods. To measure the trend, we have many methods, right? The most famous method is trend line, right? Most famous method is trend line. Another famous method is moving average. In addition to that, semi-average, freehand curve methods, we have many methods. But most commonly used, here they ask, what is most commonly used method, right? What is most commonly used method to analyze the trend? Most commonly used best method of measuring trend: least square, semi-average, moving average and freehand. That is most commonly used method is moving average. How to use moving average? How to use least square? These things we have discussed. We have discussed under the seminar series, right? That's why I am asking always you to watch the videos in the seminar series, because we have discussed this, the calculation part also in detail, right? Therefore, most commonly used method is moving average. And final question, right? A terrorist attack go gas tank result lower production and distribution, so that Sri Lankan consumers experience a gas shortage for several weeks. Terrorist attacks not occurring always. It will occur only one times over the period you consider, like a tsunami impact. The tsunami also occurred to the coastal area of the country, but it was only occurred only one times over the last 50 years. Terrorist attacks also occurred only 2 times, 3 times, or maximum 5 times over the last 50 years. Not always occurred, and there is no a pattern of occurring that, right? There is no pattern, right? Therefore, it is a irregular trend. If the incident doesn't have a pattern of occurring, it is a irregular trend, right? If incident has a pattern of occurring within shorter period of time, that is called seasonal. Within a longer period of time, that is called cyclical. Is that clear? If a incident occurring according to pattern with a longer period of time, it is a cyclical trend. Just like 1972 civil war, just like 1988 civil war, 2009 civil war after 2 years time, just like 1998 economic recession, 2008 economic recession, 2009, 2019 and 20 economic recession after 10 years time. This cyclical, same pattern. There is a pattern but with a longer period of time. But sometimes as winter, summer like this, same thing will happen within shorter period of time. That's called seasonal trend. However, the terrorist attack or tsunami impact, this type of thing are not cyclical or seasonal or trend. It is a irregular activity, right? Now I will take another example. Now landslides or flood impact to Sri Lanka always occurring in May and June. in Sri Lanka. Landslides as well as flood, especially in Ratnapura and other area, right? It is always occurring in every year, May and June. Is it a irregular? No. It has a pattern. Each year, May and June it is happening. Is it a cycle? No, it is not a cycle. It is a seasonal thing. Due to the May and June climate, we have that same incident, right? Therefore, you need to read this more. You need to watch my previous sessions based on examiner focus seminar. Then you can have proper idea about this time series analysis. I believe you gathered sufficient knowledge, sufficient idea about this pilot paper, but keep your mind doing pilot paper or doing only few questions is not enough to pass the subject. Most important thing, right? Most important thing to refer the study text. I will urge again, I will tell you again, right? Now this is why study text. See the topics you have, right? First you have to separate this topic into the related topics. Now the chapter 1 is the introduction, then 2, 3, 4 talks about time value of money. What is time value of money? What are the techniques? The present value of annuity or future value of annuity, then perpetuity, right? Then simple discount, simple interest, compound interest, everything we'll discuss here. We have touched some question related to time value of money in this paper. However, that is not enough. You need to read and understand the areas of this part. Then equations, that is part C, chapter 5. We have discussed some equations related to the profit and loss equation, that total cost equation, revenue equation. Then we have discussed differentiation, how to find out the slope of a equation, right? By differentiating the equation you can find the slope. Then slope will equal to 0 when there is a turning point. At the turning point value can be maximum or minimum. These things we have discussed in our seminar series also. Please watch those videos and read that chapter 5. Then graphs and algebra for business, also related to the part I have discussed now. Then descriptive statistics and depression and measurement for business, probability, normal distribution. These parts talk about the business statistics, probability and statistics. You will have separate set of questions from this area. Therefore, you have to read questions chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9, chapter 10. All this chapter 4 together read at once. Otherwise, don't read page by page, spending day by day, right? You should have a plan to read these chapters. When you read in these chapters 7, 8, 9, 10, you have to read together. That is, you have to read continuously, right? First read 7, then read 8, then read 9, then read 10. During this period, don't read any other chapters. You have to just read only 7 to 10. While you learning only time value of money, only read these 3 chapters, right? Thereafter go for the other. That's why you have in your syllabus part B separately, part C separately, likewise. Therefore, you have to learn the study text part wise. And finally, you have to learn this part separately, that is the decision making part, especially budgeting, forecasting techniques. You have to use this regression analysis and time series analysis. We have completed 2-day sessions for this chapter 11 and 12, right? Therefore, you need to refer these sessions using the seminar series we have completed for this subject in English medium. As well as you have single medium video also, if you refer, if you want to understand some technical aspects. However, better to use the English medium videos, because to understand the technical wording, how to use the technical words in different places, and how to use those technical words in the questions, everything you need to understand. Therefore, finally I will urge you, read the study text, not only 1 time, not only 2 times, at least read this 3 times. What is reading? Read the technical explanation clearly, then see the example completed there, right? Read the technical explanation, then see the example solved there. Then move into the next part. Read the technical explanation, see the examples completed there. Likewise, read these study texts. Then number 2, you have to read this study text not as chapters, at part wise. Read part 1 complete, then go to part B, then go to part C. Likewise, complete this study text reading part wise, because why they have segmented this into part, because they are talking about different areas of the syllabus. Those are amalgamated, therefore the chapters within one part, for an example part G, chapter 11 and 12 need to be continuously learned. You cannot read chapter 11 then 10 and again you can't come back to 12, right? You need to read 11 thereafter 12. Until you complete one segment, don't go for the other segment, right? That is the mistake you are doing. Complete one part first, then go to the next part. Don't read one lesson from one part and another lesson from another part, then you never understand the flow of information, flow of the knowledge. There is a flow of the knowledge, right? Knowledge has a flow. If you can't identify the flow of the knowledge, you can't track this knowledge, right? You can't grab this knowledge, you can't extract this knowledge. Therefore, you have to follow the flow. To follow the flow, read the study text part by part. If you can't start part A, okay, let's start with part G, that's okay. Then read part E. However, read entire part together, right? No need to read from chapter 1 to 12. Read part by part, then you can practice yourself. Then other thing, I will take you into the next page. Now see, part A I have only 5% in the paper. Time value money 15%, that is interest calculation, present value calculation, future value calculation, 15 marks only in the paper. Then equation 10 marks in the paper. Then pre-calculus, calculus in the business application 20 marks. Statistic 15 marks. Probability and normal distribution 15 marks. And finally, that regression analysis, time series analysis 20 marks. Now you know, to pass the subject, you require only 50 marks. That means you have to answer at least 25 questions. Correct 25 questions you require. You require 25 correct answers to pass this subject. Now, to have 25 marks, I will give you a hint, right? Not 25 marks, 25 questions, that is 50 marks. To pass this paper, you need 50 marks. That is, you need to answer 25 questions correctly. Now, to have 50 marks, see here. If you practice G 100%, and if you practice D 100%, and if you practice C 100%, you have 50 marks. Even though you are not doing other areas, you can have 50 marks. I am not asking you, or I am not supporting you to ignore some parts of the syllabus, right? Don't ignore any part of the syllabus. But if you are interested in some area of this 7 parts of the syllabus, if you are like to do more in 7 part of this syllabus, do it more and practice it more, right? Because you need 50 marks to pass the subject. Balance 50, it is required for your knowledge to pass the other subjects in the other levels. First you have to pass this. Therefore, select most likely areas in these 7 areas. You have 7 areas here. Select most likely areas for your mind, then practice it more. However, be careful, at least you have to practice 100% practice at least 75% of the syllabus. Then you will be ended with 50 marks at the exam. Okay. But finally, I will tell you, read the entire study text at least 3 times before the exam. Thank you very much, and I will wish you all the best.